Hey guys, and welcome back to the podcast. So I'm really excited for today's episode because I am joined by Steph, who's one of my good friends and also a fellow bodybuilder. So we actually have the same coach, and obviously Steph competes as well, and she's also a doctor. So we're gonna basically have a little chat, kind of run through what you do on a day-to-day basis, because you've got another little side, well, not little, very cool side business that you have. So what we're going to basically do is intro that, which is actually, what's the Instagram for that? The Productivity Doctor. Is that right?
Productivity Doctor, and doctor is a whole word. Yeah.
Perfect. And what's your Instagram? Just so we do it at the start so people know.
Mine is, I think I'd have to look now, _ Dr. Steph _, I think, or the underscore might be somewhere else, but I'm sure we can put it in the notes.
Search Dr. Steph and hope for the best. Okay, so
well, yeah, I think I'll come up if you do that.
Yeah, so do you want to do a bit of an intro, because I feel like I will massacre this if I try and explain what you do, and then you will give a better description than what I will.
Yeah, okay. So I'm Steph, recently married, so now Medic Dyson. I was Hill before. As Leah said, I dabble in bodybuilding. That's a very big hobby of mine, takes up a lot of my time and my passion. And then I am a NHS doctor. So I qualified in 2016, and I specialise in end-of-life care, both clinically, so in the hospital, and research. So I can break that down a little bit. When I went to uni the first time, I did a biochemistry degree. So most people don't know this. I don't know why you would know it, but I applied to get into medicine straight from high school, as most people do. And I didn't get in that time round. So I was offered a space on the biochemistry course at Nottingham Uni. So I did that basically because I didn't really know what else to do.
Yeah.
I really wanted to do psychology, but my parents didn't want me to do psychology for whatever reason at that time. I think things have changed since then, but they were very focused on sciences and medicine. I guess they knew that I'd worked really hard at that at school, and didn't want me to not pursue medicine if I fell in love with psychology, which I perhaps would have done. So did my biochemistry degree, and then found out that you could do something called graduate entry medicine. So you go and do a medical degree having already done another degree. And it basically means you have to do the medical degree in 4 years instead of 5. So it's hell for 4 years, basically. But you come out the other end, and we're good doctors for it. It's a good course. And we're more sort of mature learners, I think. So we know how we learn. So you get a bit of a mix in both courses, I guess. But I'm really glad that I did graduate entry medicine. Qualified in 2016, and then have worked my way up the ranks since then, and am now in the specialty that I have always wanted to do. I split my time 75% clinical, so working on the ground as a doctor in the hospital, and the other 25%, which works out as a day a week, is academic time. So that's focused on research. I'm doing a master's at the moment, and hopefully going to apply for a PhD very soon. So lots going on at the moment. So yeah, that's basically me.
A lot of studying.
A lot of studying, and the gym saves me, basically.
Yeah, so you basically have obviously a very intense work life.
Yeah.
And then you also manage to fit your bodybuilding and all your kind of other stuff in around it, and also introduce your other thing that you do as well. So I feel like this is really cool, and obviously you've helped me with this as well. We've had calls in the past, and so I think this is really cool. So do a little other intro.
Yeah, sure. So I have, for want of a better word, I guess, a little side business called the Productivity Doctor. And this was born last year, basically from, I spend a lot of my time when I'm commuting, traveling, walking, listening to books, listening to podcasts, and a lot of them are around self-development, productivity. And I love that sort of stuff, and I wanted to be able to distill some of the messages that I was taking in from the books, from the podcasts, from life in general, and share them. And Instagram is a great platform for that. So I started making posts, essentially doing that, distilling the information to key points that I thought, you know what, everybody should know this. This is really useful for life, for everybody. And I wanted to get it out there. And the second fold to that is that if I can very easily listen to a podcast and a book and not pay any attention. We're all guilty of that. If I know that I'm sort of listening for content, if I'm then going to make that into content that people can take stuff away from, it makes me focus on it, and it makes me take away those key messages. So really it was quite a selfish endeavor, in that it made me listen to those more. It made me understand them, and it made me make them understandable to other people, and the best way to learn is to teach. I then thought maybe I could help people, actually, because I've come on quite a journey myself with productivity and being efficient with my time. I've had to and I've learned so much on the way, and I think that I've learned a lot of lessons that I can help other people pick apart where they may be going wrong and make them more efficient. And by productivity, I mean you're doing more, or you're doing what you need to do, but in less time, because there's so many people nowadays that are working every hour that is sent, aren't getting what they need done, and then they're not having any time for themselves. And that's so important. And you can actually, if you work more efficiently, you can get that work done, and even more done. You can enjoy it a lot more and have time for yourself. And that's sort of the whole premise of the Productivity Doctor, is that I want to give you time for you. Yes. Because that's what these methods have given me, essentially.
Yeah, because I still see, like, on your Instagram, for example, obviously you're working like a very good job. You've got your kind of productivity doctor stuff that's going on, and then you've got your own bodybuilding, your training, your meal prep, and you still, I see things where you're like sat and you're like watching TV and stuff. So it's not like you don't have that time off either. And I think, like, I have so many clients, for example, that I don't have time to do this. I'm really struggling to fit everything in. So I thought it'd be really cool to delve into how you manage your time.
Yeah.
And you fit everything in. And then maybe what are your tips to kind of help other people as well, and how you've kind of been able to get everything that you want in. Because I think that's really interesting. I'm proper intrigued by this stuff as well. So when you started I love planners and organizing. So when you showed me all of your stuff, I was like, oh, this is brilliant.
Yeah, and it could just make such a difference. Even tiny little things, if you just bring them into the forefront of your mind, they can make such a difference. I think organization is key. That sort of goes without saying. And organization can look very different for lots of people. Some people are very happy to sit and plan out the next month or so. Some people like to take days as they come, and that doesn't mean that you can't be organized with that and use tools to do that. I also think that reflection on what is working and what isn't working for you is key, because I think so many people pick something up and try and use it, an organization tool, and for whatever reason it doesn't work, and so they stop using it. But what they don't do is spend any time reflecting on why that didn't work, because actually it may be that there's only a small tweak that's needed, and that could then be effective for you, rather than going from one tool to the next, to the next, to the next, and just
jumping around.
Yeah, just feeling like you're floundering. But I think the key, organization works is because what you want to be doing is removing decisions from the moment.
Yes.
We get something called decision fatigue. So the more decisions you have to make, it's what it says on the tin, the more decisions you have to make, the less able you are to make decisions. And this day and age, we've got, if I want to sit down and watch a film, I can't just look at my DVD collection. I have to go through all of Netflix, all of Amazon Prime, all of Disney Plus. And I understand that's a privilege to have those, but even something as simple as choosing a film there are so many decisions involved.
Yeah.
We don't just go to the fridge and choose what to have for dinner about what we got on the weekly shop. We can now open our phones and we can literally order anything we wanted to.
Yeah, so true.
There are just so many decisions to be made, and just the types of foods that are available now is just absolutely mad, and that's fantastic, but it's overwhelming. It's so overwhelming. And so that is just reduced in the background already. Our ability to make decisions is reduced. We are already decision fatigued. And so if you can make your decisions ahead of time in an environment where you are calm and you can think about them sensibly, then when you actually come to do the tasks, you don't have to choose what you're doing. You don't have to make a decision. You're much more likely to succeed. And that's what planning does, whether you do that on the day or whether you do it for the week. So I do both. I plan out my week on a Sunday in terms of I just have a column for professional goals and for personal goals for the week, and it's in my 6-minute diary that I do every morning, which I've done for the last, I think, 4 years now, every day. And that's just a habit, isn't it? You integrate it and then it's there. So yeah, I do that on a Sunday, and I write down the bare minimum that I would be happy with if I in the week. And then every day, if I'm going to work for the day, I don't tend to do a to-do list for the day because it's already prescribed for me what I'm going to do. But if I'm on my academic days or the weekends, and I do work a lot at the weekends, and so if you do, that's fine. I hate this culture where nobody can work on the weekends. Like, if you want to work on the weekends, that's absolutely fine, because chances are it frees up the time where you actually want it. Then I will have a separate to-do list for the day, and it is literally the things that I need to do that day. It's short. It's got nothing on there that are maybes. If I've got extra time, I don't do any of that. If I've got extra time, I'll do this. So it goes on the to-do list. If I've got extra time, I will consult another list. I've got quite a lot of lists to find them.
Maybe you need to do a list breakdown.
Okay, I could do a list breakdown.
Oh, okay, I was joking, but yeah.
Well, it's all my to-do list, and I did a reel on this actually on the Productivity Doctor last week. So it's very simple. I basically have my next actionable steps, which are the smallest next steps you need to take to get closer to your goal.
Yeah.
The example I like to use for this is if you are writing an essay. So the overarching project would be the essay. But so many people will just have on their to-do list, write essay.
Yeah, which is like a huge, overwhelming goal.
Yeah. How can you possibly feel motivated or even excited to sit and do that? Because it's so overwhelming. But if you break that down, actually the first thing I need to do to be able to do the essay is read the instructions from the teacher. Or I know that I need to read a certain chapter in a book to be able to write it. And then you may be able to move on to bullet point the plan. So you really break it down into tiny bits. You don't need to write them all out in one go. You just figure out what the next step is. And then when you've done that, figure out what the next step is.
Right. So you would do it as you go type thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So you've got your list of your next actionable steps. And if you've got multiple projects on the go, you may have multiple next actionable steps.
Yeah.
So I've got a next actionable step for my systematic review that I'm writing. I've got a next actionable step for my PhD application.
Okay.
A next actionable step for a meeting that I'm organising.
Yeah.
And having that little bit of flexibility as well is helpful, in that sometimes you might sit down and you don't want to write any essay, but you're in quite a creative mood in terms of you might want to make some content instead of just paraphrasing for an essay. So having that flexibility of the next actionable steps is fine.
Okay.
And the next heading that I would have is future work. So that could be in the same place, it could be in a different place, but it's the work that you know you need to do in the future, but you don't need to do it right now.
That's like a brain dump, because I feel like I have this where I'm like, oh, I've got this idea and I've got this idea. And then it's easy to get like really overwhelmed like that, isn't it? So if you just kind of and I say this to my clients as well, like, if you've got things you need to do, just go. You don't need to do them all now. They don't all need to go on today's do list. Like, just go and empty your brain and write it down. So would that be like a big brain dump essentially?
Yeah, definitely. And this is the reason why I've got so many little lists, is because none of it is in my head.
Yeah.
Because I need my head. I need my head free so that I can focus on what I'm doing. I don't hold anything in my head. If you said to me, what are you doing next Tuesday? I would pick up my phone and have a look on my calendar, because that's what it is. But I have faith in the system that it is there.
Yeah.
So what I would say is, I'll just say the last bit of the list and then come back to that, because otherwise I'll get sidetracked, ironically.
Yeah. Keep going through this.
So the last bit of the list is with someone else. So these are tasks that you can't do anything about until someone else has got back to you. So sometimes you've sent some videos off to someone to edit. Yeah. And so you can't do anything with them. You can't post them, you can't make any content. Sometimes you've sent an email off and you're waiting for a reply, or maybe you've sent a draft of your essay off to somebody to read, so they've got that. So just keeping track of what's with someone else.
Right, okay.
And they're parked as far as you're concerned. You can't do anything with that until that's come back.
Okay.
And it helps you keep a track on it. So you've got next actionable steps, future work, and with someone else. And then that's it. It's essentially just what you need. And then your daily to-do list is just drawn from those next actionable
steps. Right, okay. So I guess you could kind of apply that to, like, for example, looking at physique-based goals and like progressing yourself from like a client perspective. I guess you could apply it to that. Because, for example, if there's someone that wants to lose like X amount of weight, or wants to start training or develop like the strength, you could kind of break that down in terms of like you said with the essay. That's kind of the bigger goal, and then breaking it down into what do I actually need to do, what are the steps. So it might be like going and doing a food shop, or making your lunch for the next week. So actually like splitting it down. I guess that's kind of, you could do that with your own goals as well.
Yeah, definitely. And it means that it's much more manageable and less overwhelming to do that, and you're much more likely to do that. You're much more likely to go do your food shop if you can see that that's the next step that you need to do, as opposed to trying to change everything all at once, isn't it? And I guess that it sort of links into the move away from outcome goals to process goals, which I'm sure you speak about a lot. If you're training for a marathon, you never just say, I'm training for a marathon and it's all or nothing. You really need to be saying, first of all, I'm going to train to do 5k, then 10k,
break it down.
And enjoy it, like celebrate the wins on the way. Or I think it's James Smith who uses the example of, if you're aiming to lose 10 pounds, then you only get to celebrate when you get to 10 pounds. Why would you not celebrate, like aim every pound on the way, and celebrate every pound on the way? That you're cheating yourself out of 9 celebrations.
No, that's so true. So you've got your list, right? So you've got your next actionable list. So someone's done their next actionable steps, they've got their brain dump with like their future, the future one, and then they've got their other one, which is with someone else. So how do you, because I say this to my clients all the time, I'm like, you can't just go into your week and hope that you get everything done. Like, you need to allocate your time to tasks, because you could probably have days where you don't feel like doing things, and it's like you said, you might have a little bit of time, but then if it's not planned into a time slot, you're going to get to the end of the week and then be like, I'm just relating this back to like physique goals, but I haven't got my sessions in, or I haven't got my steps in, or like, actually I don't have any food and I need to eat a meal. So how do you actually take that and kind of put it into your week?
So that's the sort of weekly review that you need to do, and that's what I would do on a Sunday. So you just look ahead, and I've got the list of the things that I know I need to get done, so the professional stuff and the personal stuff, and then I have a look about where they're going to go. So if you've got gym sessions to fit in, then you need to be writing down, whether that's in a piece of paper or in your calendar, when you're going to do those sessions, and so that all you have to do is follow your own plan. So what you don't want to do is finish work on a Monday and go, I think I might go and do one of my gym sessions, because you're not going to go and do your gym session. If it's a choice, if it's a decision for you to make, with this decision fatigue, you're going to choose to go home and sit on the sofa, because that's you will always choose comfort.
Yeah.
Whereas if you've made that promise to yourself, you've already said, I'm going to go to the gym on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, then when you get to the end of the day on a Monday, you're going to go, right, today is gym day. That is in my plan. You're much more likely that you may still not go. You may still have other barriers that mean that you end up going home and sitting on the sofa. That's different, but you are much more likely to do that. So planning ahead of time and putting that time in is definitely one of the things you can do to help you do that. Habits are all about making it more accessible and making the other option less accessible. So planning time ahead is one way to make things more accessible, because you've removed that decision. It's already planned. You've made that promise to yourself. And it also makes the alternative less attractive, because in order to not do it, you have to actively decide not to do it, as opposed to sticking to what your day looked like. So that's why planning ahead of time works so well. And it also helps you to see whether your plan is realistic. So if you said to one of your clients, I want you to try and do 3 to 4 sessions this week, and they go, okay, yeah, fine, I'm going to do 5. And so then they sit down, they've written on their to-do list, they're going to do 5 sessions this week. But actually, when they sit down and they see they've got childcare on Monday night, they're doing a late shift on Wednesday, and they don't have the car on Sunday. So actually, it's physically impossible.
The logistics of it.
It's just not going to work. So then they can plan in 4 or 3. And that's not them then getting to the end of the week and thinking, but I said I was going to do 5.
100%.
You're doing what you plan to do, and you know when you're in that headspace to do the planning why that is, and that it's okay. So it works as a bit of a feedback loop. Sometimes I'll make my list, and then I'll have a look at my week, and then I'll think that's not going to happen. That's not really. I need to take something off this to-do list. Otherwise, I know I'm going to get to the end of the week and I'm not going to have done it. And it's going to make me feel rubbish.
Because you want it to be realistic, don't you?
You want it to be overachievable, if anything. Because it's always better to get to the end of your list ahead of time and think, I've done everything. I can do that. As opposed to constantly be not doing your list, which I think is such a common thing that people do.
This is what I was doing. I think when we worked together, I was like cramming every half an hour of the day like full, and then if something ran over, it would like push my whole day off. So then it was just making me feel like I'd failed at the end of every day.
You need the wiggle room, you need white space. That's what, because nowadays everybody puts everything in Google Calendar. You need that white space in between your appointments, because life doesn't go to plan. Something will run over, and you don't want to panic. As you get more used to your organization tools and how you set up your week, you then learn to be more flexible, and I like to call it persist or pivot. So you learn to be able to, even halfway through your day, if it's gone terribly wrong compared to what you planned, you learn to be able to take a step back and say, okay, what's the best thing to do here? Persist, push through what I planned to do and work later than I thought I was going to, or sacrifice something else? Or do I need to pivot completely, take some things away, maybe even swap the afternoon for another afternoon in the week, so that you still get to the end of the day satisfied? Because the alternative is you just carry on floundering through the end of the day, and then you don't get any of your day. Like if the morning's not gone to plan, fine, you can't get that back now, unfortunately, but you can change the rest of the day. But that comes with time. That's not something that's easy to do. And I also don't profess to be perfect. There are lots of days where I just cannot do what I have set out to do. I just can't.
I think that's really interesting as well, because I have that sometimes where I like some days I'm like, oh brilliant, like I've got to the end of my to-do list, like I've been super, like I had one of these days yesterday where I was like just so productive, and I got to the end of the day and I was like, I've got so much done, like if I could be like this every day, like I would make so much more progress. And then some days I'll sit down and it will get to lunch and I'll be like, I've barely done anything, like my brain is just not functioning the same.
So Yeah,
People
because
have those days, don't they, as well?
yeah, they do, and everybody does, despite what social media may tell you. Everybody does. Everybody has those days, and it may be something as simple as you got a little bit less sleep, or you had a big leg session the day before. There are so many CNS stressors that you may not even be aware of that mean that you can't focus at that moment in time, and it's not all your fault. It's not all your fault. All you can do is try and get the tools in place to help yourself do that. So take your phone out of the room, or use your phone as your timer so that you're not going to be distracted. Time blocking. So we've talked about time blocking before for the day, so you know the tasks that you're doing and you can focus on that. Being realistic with those time blocks, so not setting yourself an hour and a half of deep work, because nobody can do that. It's sort of humanly impossible. So you might need shorter work blocks. There are things that we can do. There's so many tools and techniques, and that's what I do through the Productivity Doctor. None of my consultations are the same. I may offer the same tools to different people, but they'll be targeted in different ways, and there'll be a different combination of the tools because people have different issues. There tends to be two groups of people, either people who know what their next actionable steps are and then find it really difficult to actually do them. And then there's another group of people who are quite good at doing things once they can identify what they need to do, but are perhaps floundering around being able to identify what that next actionable step is.
Right. So they can action it, but they just don't know what they need to action as such.
Okay. So the first thing that I try and do with people is establish which of those they are, because the tools are going to be different and what we need to work on is going to be different. And then eventually everybody will get to the same sort of stage. And I think it's just about building things in really slowly. So although I've just spoken about a load of different techniques that I used, there wasn't a week where I sat down and said, right, from now on Sundays, I'm going to plan my week. Every morning I'm going to do this. I'm going to use this to-do list. I'm going to time block using this, Google Calendar. Like, it's been one thing, letting it settle, and then another thing, and maybe that didn't work, so I sacked it up, and then another thing, and then that settled. And I mean, this has been years and years and years in the making, and now I feel like I've settled in a place where 80% of the time I am as productive as I can be.
What would you recommend? So if someone is feeling like really overwhelmed, feels like they're mentally, because I have this with some clients that say to me, I just feel so like mentally burnt out all the time. I feel like I'm here, there and everywhere. I've got so much going on. What would be the first thing that you would recommend to them in order to maybe help them just like be a bit more efficient with what they're doing and just feel a bit more like settled in themselves?
So the brain dump is the first thing, and I think you would probably agree with me with that. Get everything that's in your head on paper, and the beauty about a brain dump is it doesn't have to be organized in any way, shape or form. It's not supposed to be. It can be typed on a laptop, on a computer, it can be typed on a phone, it can be drawn on a piece of paper, whatever medium you want to use to do your brain dump. Just get all of those things that you're thinking about out of your head and onto paper. It may look like a huge giant list once you've got it down, but it's out of your head, and that is the first step to then having a clearer mind and being able to actually look at what this brain dump looks like and figure out where you need to go. So I think that can be really, really helpful for people. The other thing that maybe sounds unrelated, but it's not, I think spending some time properly defining your own values, because the amount of times we come to a decision that would be much easier to make if we knew what our values were.
Right, if you knew what was like important to you as such.
Yeah. Because you need to be able to, if someone comes to you and asks you to do a task, you need to be able to weigh that up against your own values, and you want it to work for them and not against them. So they're two different things. There's lots of things that may work for you, but they may also work against another one of your values. and it's being mindful of what that is. Otherwise you're just not going to be satisfied and happy. You need to be doing things for you. And often if people feel overwhelmed, it's because they're saying yes to lots of things that aren't for them.
And I think that's really interesting, because if you look at it like from, for example, a client perspective, someone that's trying to prioritize their own maybe fitness goals and health goals, wants to, you know, feel better, maybe lose weight, build muscle, whatever they want to do, like improve their sleep, but then they're saying yes to like going out for food loads, like going out for drinks with the friends at weekends, and then they're getting to do like a check-in and be like, oh, I'm really frustrated because like I haven't lost weight and I've eaten out loads this week, and then you just feel like you're going around in a circle. Whereas if they'd actually taken a step back and thought, actually, like, okay, so I either go out with my friends tonight or I go and get my gym session in that I'd promised myself that I was going to get in. So it's not saying like never go out with your friends and always go to the gym, but it's just weighing up like ultimately what is going to be better for you long term and what's in line with what you really want. I always say this to my clients, it's like, what is actually going to make you happy? Because I think it's really easy when you're in the moment to think, oh, brilliant, that sounds amazing, I'll like do that, without actually thinking about, is that actually going to contribute to what you want to do long term?
Yeah, definitely. It's the immediate gratification, isn't it?
Because it's like when we're on prep, like if we went out for food, like I would love to sit and like have a nice meal and a dessert, like, and that's hard, isn't it, sitting and going out when you're on prep and being like, no, sorry, I'll just go and eat my chicken salad or whatever. But then it's like, God, I hate chicken salad, it's on my plan now, oh, it's never gonna go. But it's like thinking, wow, I want to get on stage and I want to reach my goal. And I know that's quite an extreme example, but it's the same with like someone that's trying to lose weight. If they're missing sessions and, you know, not hitting their nutrition targets because they're always saying yes to everything else, there's going to be a trade-off. So it's like weighing up what's most important to you.
Yeah, definitely. And it comes down to the values, because the reason why somebody wants to lose weight, that's the first thing that they need to examine, isn't it? And I'm sure that's the first thing that you go into with clients. Why do you want to do that? What's
your reason?
Yeah, and actually the value that comes down to, maybe you want to be healthy. You want to be healthy for your kids, for your husband, for your wife. You want to be healthy for you. You want to be able to climb a mountain when you go on holiday with a family. Like, you've got to take it down to, why is that important? And also, on the flip side, why is going out for food important to you? Because maybe that actually one of your values is that you are present for your friends, and taking that away is not good for you either. So if you can say, the reason I like going out with my friends is because I want to be present for them. I want to see them. I want to be a part of their life. That's fine. You don't need to eat a burger to do that. So picking it apart, why do you like doing those things? Why are those things important to you? Then you make the decisions, because you can be healthy and go to the gym, and you can go and spend time with your friends.
It doesn't have to be like one or the other. It's just thinking about like the decisions you're making and how they relate to your values.
Yeah, because actually saying no to your friends and going to the gym instead is, if being present for your friends is one of your values, that's directly going against your values, and that's not going to make you feel great. You're going to resent that gym session and you're not going to want to go, and that's going to not be good for your long-term adherence. So actually recognizing that and saying, do you know what, now is not the time for me to go to the gym. Now is the time for me to go out with my friends, but it's not the time for me to go and eat a 3-course meal. I don't need to do that to spend the time with my friends. So that's amazing. That's how the values can help.
So it's sort of like identifying that and then making sure you're aligned with, the actions are aligned with your values.
And those are the things that tend to contribute to overwhelm, is people are trying to hold everything in their head and just haven't got it down on paper, because that's not what our heads are made for. We've got a good we've got memory. Obviously we have got memory, but we're not calendars, and we're not textbooks. We're not supposed to be. Back in the day, we didn't ever have multiple appointments or places to be. We got up when the sun got up. We went out and hunted when the food was there. we went to bed when the sun went down. Like, we didn't need to plan, right, next Thursday the bison are coming, so we have to be by the rock at 2 p.m. There's just none of that.
Yeah.
So we're not made for it. We have to write it down.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. So in terms of like how you do your planning, because obviously you have like quite a lot of things to juggle. So like so let's start with your work then. Like how many hours like roughly do you do? Like what days do you do? How do you like, sorry, I'm going into like 25 questions there. How do you like juggle your time with like your body? Because obviously you have to do meal prep, like you have to do your check-in. You obviously, like when you're dieting, you've got cardio and steps to do. Because like there's a lot going on. So how, and obviously like you're married, you've got a relationship, you've got a house. Like how do you like juggle everything and feel like not overwhelmed with what you're doing?
So a lot of it's routine that's just set in place. And I think when you're starting certainly if you're going to start a prep, you need your ducks in a line, don't you? You can't start a prep when your life is up in the air. So having that basis is always helpful. My academic days are always a Monday, and that it has to be like that, because if it was a different day a week, then the hospital would get confused when I was supposed to be there, and it would all just be up in the air. So I know every week I'm doing the same. Thankfully, I've moved away from shift work now, because that was another added level of complicated.
Yeah.
I have one night on call a week. So I've moved away from shift work. I have one night on call a week where the hospice will call me if they need me. And I have to go in if they need me, but it's touch wood, they don't need me to go in that often. And then I work one weekend in 5 at the moment, and that's because I've chosen a specialty that is like that. And I've been through the whole doing nights, doing days, doing all the on-calls. So that's tough, but it is doable, because you just tend to have a different routine for each shift pattern. So if I work with shift workers for the productivity doctor type thing, then that's what we talk about. But now I have a fairly set routine. So Mondays are my academic day. Tuesday I work clinically. Wednesday I have teaching in the morning and then work clinically in the afternoon. Thursday and Friday I work clinically. And then weekends on my own, except for 1 in 5 when I go and work in the hospice. So I know my schedule, and that makes it a lot easier. I have set training days. So I rest, it's easier to say, I rest every Thursday and Sunday, although I go and do cardio on a Sunday. So that's in as well. Sometimes
set your training days in stone, like these are my training days and these are my days off.
Yeah. And there's a bit of flexibility there if I need it. So for example, if I'm on call on a Friday evening, then I'll do my training session on the Thursday, which isn't ideal. You can't do everything ideally if you're going to balance lots of things, and accepting that is really important as well. I know delaying a rest day is not optimal for my progress, but that's it. Neither is missing a gym session because I can't go because I'm called into the hospice, and at the end of the day that's my job, so that comes first. So that's set in. I follow a meal plan, so I know what I'm eating every day, so I don't have to
think about the food.
And I'm in a routine with that. So I'll batch cook my turkey mince, I batch cook my bolognese and pasta meals, and then they're just in the freezer for me to take out.
Do you do that on set days, or sorry, just interrupt, or do you just do it as and when?
As and when it runs out. So I know that I could do it on a Monday, and I can do it most weekends. So I will sort of think ahead. So say if my bolognese meal ran out on the Sunday rest day and I didn't need it till the Thursday rest day, but I would then make it on the Monday, because I know that I'm not going to have time on the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So it's just sort of, I used to more of my meals used to need more prepping, and so I used to do it like every 2 weeks religiously. So that is another option, but I just don't need to do that at the moment. My plan is really easy to make, and none of it takes that long, so I just do it when it runs out and when I've got the earliest opportunity, really. So that's how I do that. And then all the rest of it is like salad, or I just get ready cooked green beans that are frozen and just toast them. Microwave rice.
So it's all easily accessible, like ready to go food as such.
Iceland chicken is an absolute godsend. It's ready cooked. I eat skewers, which, because it's 100 grams uncooked, is then basically a skewer that's already cooked. So it's perfect. It's like it's made. And Will lives off that as well. So my husband has got at least 3 full-time jobs. He's balancing, and he has to eat. I mean, he's a lot heavier than me. He has to eat a lot of food, and so he does that as well, the Iceland chicken. So it is doable. It is doable. You just have to find the easy route. Sometimes that's not optimal. Obviously, it would. Well, I don't know if it would make that much difference if I made my own chicken fresh. Probably not, because of the added stress. But you just find your own little things. So yeah, make things easy for yourself. That's the biggest message, I think.
And obviously, I think when you're going to do certain things in advance, so it just takes out that sort of decision, like you said, taking away the decision making through the week. I think I find that with a lot of clients is like they get to a day and then think, oh, I don't really want to do it today, I'll do it another day, and then you get a week later and things haven't been done. And then it's really stressed because they're like, shall I do this? Shall I do that? I don't have any food in because I haven't done a food shop. And it's like they end up just like in limbo. Whereas, if they've got a set day for like food shop and a set day for the session and a set day for the meal prep, it's like everything is organized out then.
Yeah, definitely. And I think if you're sort of starting out, that is the way forward. You need to have a set allocated time that will work for you to do that meal prep. If for whatever reason 1 week you're not available at that time, say you've gone away for the weekend, then that's fine. Just either do 2 weeks in advance, you just need to be thinking ahead, or find another day to do it. Don't just go, no, I can't do it on my specific day. Just pivot and make it work, but you've got to be thinking ahead. Some people hate thinking ahead, but I think you have to.
If you want to achieve a goal, you have to.
Do
you ever have days where you feel like, oh, I just really can't be bothered today?
Rarely, and I know that I'm very lucky in that sense. I tend to be a very motivated person, and I think that comes down to the fact that I absolutely love what I do job wise, both my research and my clinical, and I love going to the gym. Like I've worked so hard to get somewhere where I love what I'm doing every day. There were days back when I was doing jobs that I didn't want to do. I felt like that. So I don't think I not often do I feel like that. Sometimes hormonally I really struggle. I have to recognize that and push through it. I tend to get the opposite, in that I get a bit overwhelmed doing too much. I get a bit scatty. I can get a bit scatty. My motivation tends to be a hindrance in some of those settings, in that I'll have my list of what I need to do for the day, but then I'll just start doing something else.
And you get like sidetracked.
That wasn't on the list. But it's because I love doing that. I enjoy it as well. And especially if I enjoy that more than what is my next task on the list. I do struggle with that. And the only way to get past that is to just do it. It's as simple as that. Like if you're sat and you've got a task to do and you don't want to do it, start doing it, because that is the only way. There's no magic anything. Just start doing it. And if you've got to do more of that task tomorrow, finish it at a point where it's halfway through. So I've heard writers say that they finish their sentence halfway through, and then when they go back to the writing the next day, they read what they've written, pick up that sentence, and then they've started, and they can just
it's not like that thinking of like a brand new chapter or something.
Because that's another barrier. That's like clean breaks, although they feel good closure wise on the day, are really difficult to then come back to. So you're better off leaving it a little bit messy, so you can come back in.
Okay. So in terms of like, if you just go back to like your planning, so with your like diary and stuff, what do you use specifically to like organize your time and do your list? Because I feel like I use like a notebook, and I literally have like a million notebooks in my desk because I like writing stuff down.
Yeah.
So how do you do that?
So I have my journal in the morning is the 6-minute diary by Be Your Best Self, which is BEUR best self.
Okay.
And you can just find it on Amazon.
And you do that every day?
Every single day. Yeah. Okay. There's a bit for the morning and there's a bit for the night time. I just do it all in the morning. So I do the nighttime bit for the day before.
Right.
And the day bit for the day ahead.
Okay, yeah.
Because I don't like doing any journaling or reading or anything in the evening. I just chill and watch TV.
Yeah.
That's what I like to do. So I do that in the morning. And then I use Google Calendar for any of my appointments.
Yeah.
If not in my Google Calendar, I'm not doing it. It's as simple as that. So when you do build in an organizational tool, you need to prove to yourself that it is an effective tool for you and that it works. And then eventually you will get to that point that everything goes in there, it's out of your head, but you are so dependent on it. But
I use Google Calendar as well, and I'm the same with that.
But it's okay because I know for a fact that everything I need to have in there is in there. Yeah. There is no way that I will not put an appointment in my Google Calendar. I trust myself and I trust the process such that is a fact.
Yeah.
And that's why I don't have to remember dates in my head, because I just trust it on there.
Because it's just in there.
Yeah. And that's an important part of the process. Yeah. So all my timetabling things. So I've got all my gym sessions are on there. I've got my check-in pictures, send check-in pictures.
So literally all the minor details are like in there, like take your check-in pictures and everything.
Yeah, because that's a weekly occurrence.
Right.
So then I can't get it. Yeah. What I don't do is if I've got a blank day, like say my academic day, what I don't tend to do is go and put in every second from my to-do list, as long as I've got a general idea. But what I will do is put in things that I need to do. So I put in this today and then work back and put in when I needed to go to the gym.
Okay. Yeah.
I needed to be at the gym for a specific time to be able to get back to do this. So I needed to know that. Whereas everything else, I know that I'll get it done. It just needs to be fitted in. And I think I can do that because I've been through the other processes of blocking out every bit of my time.
Yeah.
And I trust my process now that I know how long I take with things.
Yeah.
And I know that I'm motivated, and if it's on my to-do list, I'll do it. But if you're sort of starting out, then it may be helpful to put in the smaller things, or at least write it down on a separate piece of paper.
Yeah, that's the way I do it. I put my like things that have to be done at a certain time. So like this today, if I'm like meeting someone to train, or I'm meeting a friend for coffee, or I've got like my check-in has to be done by a certain time, that'll go in my Google Calendar. And then anything like tasks I just do on like a notebook for the day, like as in like work stuff.
Yeah, I do the same, but in Google Keep on my phone.
Okay.
So that I don't have loads of pieces of paper. That in fact, the 6-minute diary is a written journal. But then other than that, the only piece of paper I have is my academic notebook. And I didn't even have that for a really long time until my supervisor said, you have to.
You must have a notebook. How do you do your you said about your kind of future tasks and your your brain. Where do you do all that then?
So it's on my laptop home screen.
Yeah.
So I mean, at the moment it's quite a complicated setup I've got because of everything that I've got going on with my academic work, and my PhD application is due. So I've actually got a Gantt chart at the moment, which is a productivity tool that basically is quite hard to explain. It's probably not hard to explain. I'm just not very good at it. So you basically have mine's on an Excel sheet, and I have the tasks listed down the left-hand side, and then you put in the date when you want to start the task. You put in how many days it's going to take you to do, and it creates a bar on the graph that shows the time. So that on the axis at the top are the dates. So it shows the block of time that task is going to take.
Right, okay.
And then you do that for all of your tasks, and it gives me an overall vision of what time all of the tasks are going to take and how they interact with each other. That's an advanced organization tool that academics use for things like planning PhDs and planning projects. And I imagine business people who have got a lot of things to work with, good for teams to look at. So that's one of the sort of more advanced tools, and I have only very recently started using that, and that's just because I need to have, basically my PhD application is in July, but my systematic review is due for sending off for publication in March. I've got a patient and public group meeting that needs to be done by February, so it's all my deadlines are this half of the year, which is unusual. And so if I didn't have that time planned out, I would just explode, because I'd feel like I had all those deadlines looming. But actually what the Gantt chart lets me do is see, what do I need to do today?
Yes, what do I need to do now? What's the priority? So for most people, like a list, like the notes on their laptop would be perfect, in terms of just like write down everything you need to do and then write down what the next actionable task is. That would be fine for most people, wouldn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. That's all you need, really. You need a place to brain dump the tasks that you're balancing. You need a place that's got your next actionable steps, so that when you have got some time to work, you sit down and you've got your list. And when you are planning your time ahead, you've got your list to choose from, because those are the bits that need doing first. And then you've got your someone else, which it may not be applicable to everybody. It's more applicable to me in the sort of academic realm, because I'm often sending drafts off to people, and so it's important for me to keep a track of that. But there will be things that do fit in there that don't need doing at that moment in time, that need something else to happen first. So I think those three things are the key, really. And I would try and work in at least a weekly review to do that planning. And then once that's set, then you can have a look at maybe doing a little 5 minutes every day.
So basically you've got your notes with your brain dump on, you've got your next action task or your priorities, what you need to do next. You've got some sort of planning on a Sunday where you basically figure out what days you're going to do things on. And I guess you could tie in your review to the Sunday as well. So you could do a review of last week, and then you could plan out next week in one go.
Perfect.
And then you basically got some sort of diary where you can put things in.
Okay. Those are the basics.
So if you want to get super productive, basically do that.
And you can build on it, and chances are, once you start to see the positive effects of it, you'll then think, oh, what else can I do? What else can I add it? And there are so many things. I mean, I sound like organized chaos, and it probably is organized chaos, but organized being the operative word.
So bodybuilding wise then, because you're obviously starting like prep this year. So what are your plans with prep? How are you going to fit that in around like what you've got already? Because obviously it's like the posing and the cardio and the steps. Like how are you going to fit all that in when you start prep?
So the way I see it is, I think sometimes prep seems overwhelming if it's a brand new start and you've got to add in everything. Whole thing. But actually, I'm at the gym six days a week. My meal prep is sorted.
That won't change, will it? Your meal prep routine. So
my meals are sorted. So all my routine is in place. Even if I had to go to the gym 7 days a week, that would be absolutely fine. I would all I need to do is just add it on. And I go to the gym after work when I'm clinical, or I go to the gym in the middle of the day when I'm not at work, because it's just quieter and just get it done. I don't faff around when I'm in the gym at all. I don't talk to people if I can avoid it. I'm not rude, or sometimes I'm rude. Yesterday I had like 45 minutes, and I point blank was like, I'm really sorry, I've got 45 minutes, and then just carried on. But I just go in, do my workout, and then come out. I pose anyway. I pose throughout my off season. So that won't change. I know I need to go for I need some posing lessons. Lord knows I need some posing lessons. But then it will just be practicing that instead of just practicing the same thing.
So when you do your cardio, do you just add that onto your evening weight session?
Yeah.
And you don't go twice a day, you just kind of block it all together?
Yeah. We have got a home gym, which makes life so easy. I don't use it at the moment because I really like just walking down to my gym because I get some steps in as well. But we've got a little bike in there.
Right.
And so if I wanted to do some morning cardio, I'm trying to think back to the last prep now. It's ages ago. I was doing some morning cardio on the bike, so I could add that in. I get up at 6 as it is, but I get up at 6 to leave the house at 7:20. That's because I like to just chill. I like to do my journal. I have a SAD lamp. Like, my morning routine is important to me, but I know that it's a luxury, and so I can make that shorter if I need to. And I already do a little bit of cardio, which Dan is going to take off me, which is fine. He needs to now. He's like, it's long enough.
I would love to bunch all mine together, because I do when I'm on prep, I do my cardio in the morning, because my cardio got up to like an hour last time, so it was just, I was like, I cannot face doing this after a session. But I just find, because I train in the middle of the day, and then I end up doing cardio after my session, and then I'm like so sweaty, and I'm like, I need to go back to work, but I'm like really sweaty, and then I have to have a shower and like wash my hair. I know that's such a first world problem, but you know what I mean, from an organization perspective.
It is an art fitting it in, isn't it? And to be honest, I haven't done a prep with Dan, so I don't know what that's going to be like. I don't know what the demands are going to be like, but I've always just taken it as, I'll just take it as it comes and fit it in. And it's always gradual, isn't it? Like, you start on a certain number of minutes on the cardio, and then you build it up, and you build up your steps, and so you don't notice it as much. It's not as if somebody just suddenly goes, right, you need to do an hour of stairs every day. Just find an extra hour. I also do a lot of life admin when I'm on the stairs, which is something that you can do a lot easier than if you're running. I don't know why anybody would run, but on the stairs, I think it helps distract you as well, doesn't it?
I read my Kindle when I'm on the Stairmaster. I get into a good book, and then I'm like this on my Kindle.
I think it's a really valuable bit of time. And I always use it to do stuff. So I think that's what I would do in prep as well. There's plenty of stuff that I sit at my desk to do that I could be doing whilst walking. So you have to just fit those tasks in, isn't it? Recognize and do while you do that. So you're not, for example, I sat here today, and I got my on-call rota up until July. So I sat at my desk and put them all in, and then thought, why have I done that? I've got 20 minutes on the stairs today. I could have done it then. But I had an email to send on the stairs anyway. So, but it's taking it as it comes, getting a solid routine, so that
I think that's a big one, isn't it? The routine, getting that solidified.
And then you're just adding to that routine. You're not heaving everything. I think if I was someone who didn't do my gym sessions on set days, or even reliably, didn't just sort of figured out my food prep as I went along, I think then introducing a prep into that environment whilst trying to balance everything else is going to lead to disaster. But because I've got all the other ducks in a line, then it's okay. So that won't be easy. It won't be easy. And maybe it's not the best thing to be doing a prep whilst balancing everything else, but it keeps me sane, and it's what I enjoy doing. And I will always go to the gym alongside medicine. They've saved me from each other. So no,
it makes sense.
I think the more you do, the more efficient you get.
I think you kind of get used to it.
Everyone who's ever done a prep will appreciate that. You are the most efficient while you're on prep.
Because I actually find like I'm more productive with work when I'm on prep, which is weird, because I'm like, my brain is a bit foggy and I can't think properly, but I like seem to be more like efficient. Absolutely. And I think it's because you have to be, isn't it? Because time management.
It's because you've had to plan ahead of time to get everything in. Because you're working towards your value. something that's really important to you. So it's, you're kind of, without realizing, exercising all of the things that we've talked about.
Yeah, true. Yeah, amazing. So just in terms of, like, to finish off, because obviously you've kind of read a lot of books around like self-development and stuff like that. If there was going to be like something that you would recommend to someone that wants to like start implementing some of these things and wants to like do a bit of reading about it, what books would be like your go-to for like recommended like reading, or podcasts even?
Okay, so podcasts I listen to Diary of a CEO.
Yeah, I love that one.
I think it's so great, and it has so many different people on there, and you can learn a lot from them. Jay Shetty,
yes,
has some, On Purpose is his podcast, isn't it? He has some really great people on there speaking about how they manage productivity, and he talks about productivity and time management and self-care and sort of the balance of everything as well. Adam Grant has got a podcast that I listen to. I'm just pulling it up now.
I haven't heard of that one.
Rethinking by Adam Grant. So that's a really good podcast.
Okay.
People come on and talk. And then I listen to the Daily Stoic. I really like Stoicism.
I want to get that book.
Yeah. So there's a podcast as well where
I didn't know that.
He reads the entry every day, basically. There's a load of adverts on there, which is quite annoying, but it's good. And he also does some, I think once a week, does a long podcast, which I don't always listen to.
Yeah.
But that is really good as well. I'm trying to think if there's any others. I think those are the main ones. And the Huberman podcast, which I'm just head over heels for at the moment.
I haven't heard of that either.
Huberman Lab. So Huberman is a neuroscientist, and he's a lecturer at MIT, but he's dedicated pretty much all of his time now to giving out free education. And he's such a clever guy, but he's so good at distilling information down into understandable truth. So his podcasts are like 2 to 4 hours long, but obviously you don't have to listen to it all at once. And he talks about the neurochemistry and brain anatomy behind a lot of the things that we do, things like motivation, addiction, all the stuff really that's really helpful to know. And I use a lot of that in my productivity doctor stuff, like manipulating dopamine. A lot about morning sunlight, cold water in the morning. He likes that. I don't like that.
Oh, I don't like that.
Delaying coffee 90 minutes before you get up. I can't do that either. Hats off to people who can. So he basically talks through all these sort of science, evidence-based things to optimize your happiness, productivity, motivation. So it's really interesting. So those are the podcasts, and I prefer podcasts to books, because I think in one podcast you get what somebody wrote in a book. They tend to just distill it down, don't they? But my favorite books, I really like Daniel Pink. So his books, he's got one called Drive and one called, what is it called? I can't remember.
But we've got the name of the author, so that's good.
Yeah. So he's got 2 really good ones. And basically Drive talks about what makes humans do what they want to do. And it's kind of from a business point of view, but I found a lot of the points applicable. And then the other one, When, is called When.
Oh, okay.
And it's about the science of when you should do things. So he's the one who talks about, are you a lark or an owl? And sort of times in the day that may work best for you for doing. So they're really great books. Anything Brene Brown?
Yes, I really like those as well, actually. I've read some of those.
Yeah, she has my heart. And I think she's a shame researcher. And I think so many of the decisions that we make come from shame without us realizing, and come from that place. And understanding that and having that compassion for yourself is such a great key to unlocking so much of your potential. Because it comes back to the values and why are you motivated and what motivates, and also takes away a lot of the a lot of the barriers and a lot of the walls that often you've put up yourself that stop you doing things. So for example, one of the big things that I realized, really big realization I had, is that so many people were telling me that I was, oh sorry, did it freeze then?
No, you're all good. It did a little bit, but it's okay now.
So many people were telling me that I was doing too much. I was hearing it at home, I was hearing it at work. My clinical supervisors were telling me I was doing too much, trying to balance. My academic supervisors were telling me I was doing too much, all from a place of kindness and all sort of make sure you don't burn out, blah, blah, blah. But I was hearing all of it and I was thinking, am I doing too much? But actually, I'm not doing too much. I'm doing what I can do. And other people can easily look into your life and tell you what is too much to be doing, if that's maybe too much for them.
Yeah.
And understanding that gave me the permission to just flourish, just do what I feel comfortable doing. It's other people telling me I'm doing too much, not me. And I don't have to listen to that. So I think, and that came from listening to Brene Brown, so she's really good. I think I could probably recommend books all day, but those are the ones that come to mind, so they're probably the most important.
No, that's brilliant. Okay, fab. And also one more question. With your prep, when do you start your prep as well? What are the plans for prep?
We're looking at the start of April to start prep, and that will take us into the first show will be September. I haven't decided on which show yet, and I keep umming and ahhing because but basically, aren't we all riddled with just self-doubt? I don't know which shows I should do, like if I'm going to be competitive enough. So I'm not making any of those decisions right now. I don't need to, and I'll just talk it through with Dan when it comes to it. But the two potential first shows are a week apart anyway.
Okay,
so
amazing.
We're just going to focus on those ones and see where we get to.
Okay, that's exciting. And one more thing, so if anyone wants to, like, because you do obviously like consultations and things like that, what's the first step if someone wants to like get your help and have a chat? What's the first step with that?
So my Instagram is my form of communication for that, and it's the Productivity Doctor, all full words. And if you just drop me a message on there, you can do that. That's probably the
I'll write it under the notes on the podcast as well, so it's like there.
Thank you. I've got a highlight on there that's got what my consultations look like, and also my availability. So I have very limited availability because it's squeezed in with everything else. I do as many sessions as I can to help as many people as I can, but ultimately my clinical and academic work have to come first. So I look ahead. I've got 2 January sessions left, and then maybe about 10 sessions in February that I've put out there, and that's just so that I myself don't become overwhelmed, and so that I can give everybody the time and attention that they need. So you can have a look on that availability and see if there's a time that would suit you, and then you can just drop me a message and say, can I book into it? If you just want to know more, then just drop me a message and I'm happy to answer any questions. No obligation, we can just have a chat if you want to, that's fine.
Amazing. Okay, fab. I feel like I've learned loads from that. I mean, I know we've like done bits together, but I feel like it's refreshed my memory as well. No, that was really fab. So I'll put all the details with like the Instagram stuff, and I'll also I might just pop the podcast and the books underneath as well. So if you can pop me those over, I can literally write them down, and that will make it easier for everyone as well. But yeah, thank you. That's been amazing. I feel like that's been a really good chat.
Oh, lovely. No, thank you for having me on. I hope it wasn't too all over the place.
No, it was very informative and useful.
No,
it was brilliant. So yeah, thank you so much, and go and follow Steph, go and follow the Productivity Doctor. There's loads of good tips on there as well, so you can like pick stuff up from that as well. And yeah, thank you.
Lovely, thank you.